Hey everybody, welcome to the Butch Hartman Art Academy and my online community. So grateful all of you are here, and I love doing these live community interactions with you guys because it's fun for me to be able to not only you know, get to meet you, even if it's virtually like this, sort of. I know we're not meeting face to face, and we're actually, having to you're having to listen to me without you actually talking to me verbally. But it's just so much fun to know that we're in the same sort of interest group. We all have the same interests about animation, about art, about entertainment, about, storytelling, drawing, creating. It is so much fun to be able to do this with you. So I'm grateful that you're here. And if you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. And the people that are helping me run this, my team, are going to forward the questions to me, and I'll be able to absolutely answer your question. And hopefully, it'll be something that will help you because I'm here to help. I'm probably a lot like you guys. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest. Didn't have a lot of money growing up, didn't have a lot of opportunity to do really anything in the entertainment industry, much less be in the entertainment industry, like not only work in the industry, but even be around it. I grew up around the auto industry. And in my head, when I was a kid, that's not something that really interested me. Hey, it interests a lot of other people, it just didn't interest me. And I really wanted to do cartoons, movies, comic books, that kind of thing. I don't know if I really wanted to do them or make them at the time, but I wanted to read comic books all the time. I wanted to watch movies all the time. I wanted to draw cartoons all the time. I wanted to do animation. I wanted to create my own characters. I wanted to, be a part of just, I guess, I didn't know this or how to even phrase it at the time, but I wanted to be part of a storytelling community at the time. And I loved stuff where stories were involved. I loved, again, movies, comic books, that kind of thing. I loved playing Dungeons and Dragons where you could create your own story, that sort of thing going forward. So, you know, um, as I was going through my journey, learning how to draw, I thought learning how to draw was the main thing I had to do. Learning how to draw is a very key component. Obviously, if you want to be an artist, that's the main thing. You have to learn how to draw. But it's not just the drawing, it's how can you tell a story through that drawing? How can you take your drawing and tell a story? Now, even the Renaissance painters back in the day, they would paint one painting, but that painting would tell a story within the painting. There were symbols, there were things within the painting that would, you know, depict the message that the artist was trying to get across. So I ask you now, if you're in this community and you're listening to me, what are the sorts of stories you like, number one? Number two, what stories do you want to tell? Are you someone who's into science fiction and do you want to tell science fiction stories? Are you into rom-coms? You want to tell those kind of stories? Are you into just slapstick comedy? Are you into drama? Are you into horror, action, adventure? What is it you like? And what is it you feel you could do well? Do you like, anime? Do you like classic squash and stretch stuff? I mean, what is it you like? And I just guarantee you, you're going to gravitate to what you like. And if you want to do that, you can do it, but it will take some effort. So I want to talk about a few things here today. And what we're talking about, I'm going to share my screen with you. I want to talk about, let me see. Yeah, I'll share my screen. And here we go. Talking about um, character creation. I hope you guys can see this. Can you guys see this? I'm sure you can. Hopefully, my team will let me know if you can see this. But I want to make sure that we're showing this correct. And what is it about entertainment that compels people? What is it about character? Yeah, what is it about? Yeah, what's it about movies, TV, comics, and about just entertainment in general? What compels us to watch a great story? Well, in one word, it's character. It's a character. Who is the character you're following? Who's the character that compels you the most? Why do you want to watch certain characters? And that is what really we want to talk about today is character creation. How can you, as a storyteller, create a great character? not just for yourself to be part of and to enjoy writing and creating and all that stuff, but something that the audience can enjoy. How do you create a great character? Well, here's some tips I can give you on how to do that. And I want to share this with you because I really feel this is a super important part of the process. I mean, think about all the great characters in history that you've watched, all the movies, all the TV shows, all the comics, all the novels, all whatever it is, whether there's illustrations or not, what are the characters that you love? In fact, that's really a challenge. There's been a ton of novels throughout the centuries that have been written with no illustrations in them at all. And yet the characters leapt off the page because of the way the writer depicted them. You know, a great one is example is Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, I believe, when they first released the Sherlock Holmes books, there were no illustrations in them. They were just stories. But the character of Sherlock Holmes was so compelling and written so well that you could almost visualize that character in your head as you were reading it. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there were illustrations in that. But another one is H.G. Wells, all the characters he created. Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley, you know, so many years ago. No illustrations in these books, yet such compelling stories that you can visualize them as you're reading them. A lot of the early Stephen King books, in fact, I think all the Stephen King books, they don't really come out with illustrations. They come out just as books, and you have to kind of fill in the blanks visually. So creating a great character can be done through just writing. And then if you're an artist on top of it, it's even better. So let's get into this a little bit. Character creation. Oh, there we go. How do I advance this? There we go. So what makes a great character? What makes a great character? A great character is made because the character is someone that the audience can relate to. It's someone that, or it's a someone or something that the audience can really fall in love with. You know, one example of a great character is Rocky Balboa. I say this all the time. He's an easy one because he's the typical underdog. If you've never seen a Rocky movie before, please go out and watch a couple of them. Watch definitely the first Rocky movie with Sylvester Stallone. Rocky is a great character because he's really truly an underdog who wants to have a shot at the world heavyweight title, and he actually gets it through a series of wild circumstances. And so he gets the shot of a lifetime. But can he live up to his dream? It's a great, you know, can we, you know, you follow this character, so no matter what he's in, you want him to win. You're behind Rocky 1,000,000%. So what makes a great character? A great character is someone that people can relate to. It's also someone people can love to hate. Darth Vader, great character. You know, you don't want to like Darth Vader, but you kind of do. He's a cool character. But Darth Vader has an agenda. He has a motivation behind what he does, and there's a real motivation there with Darth Vader as to what he wants to do and what he's setting out to accomplish. You know, so what is it about Darth Vader that people love? You know, that's another that, you know, and so what makes a great character? A great character is someone that the audience can relate to. And we'll go on a little bit farther here. I think I already wrote that down. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Why this character? Why? Why do we have this character in our story? So if you're out there writing a story right now, you need to think about why the character's in the story. You know, is your character going to be a reluctant hero? Is your character a major failure? Do they cause a giant problem? And um, do they somehow, you know, affect the story because of their ineptitude? Or do they affect the story in a way because of all the awesome things they bring to the story? You know, what is it about that character? Why are we following this character? Did they sneak in somewhere they shouldn't be? Did they find something they shouldn't have found or weren't meant to find? Or were they meant to find it? You know, Harry Potter is given an invitation to a magic school. I mean, you know, that type of thing. What makes this character super compelling? Why this character? And by the way, every kid in the world wants to be invited to a magic school. So that's why Harry Potter is pretty compelling. Oh, wow, he's actually, you know, he's a wizard. That's neat. Um, you know, Timmy Turner. Timmy Turner is a kid with fairy godparents. Every kid wanted to have their own fairy godparents. What would you do if you had fairies? I mean, how cool is that? Um, all those kind of ideas can be really, really milked a lot if you know why your character's in the story. Vicky, why is she in the Fairly Odd Parents? Well, she's there as a bad guy for Timmy. Timmy Turner needed some challenges in his life, and Vicky was the perfect challenge. This evil babysitter, comedically evil, of course, this comedically evil babysitter that shows up and tries to ruin his life all the time. So why this character? I think it's a great way to put a character in a show is to figure out why you want to have them in there. All right, so we're going to move on here and to the next thing. What can the audience relate to? Now, that is something very, um, that's something very important when you're coming up with a character and creating a story. Can the audience relate to this? Really, can the audience? There's a reason why Spider-Man is more beloved than Superman. I'm not saying Superman's not a beloved character. People do love Superman. But Superman, nothing can stop him. He's extremely powerful. He, has very few problems. He, is always he looks perfect. He's extremely strong and can lift anything and fly super fast. Nothing really is hard for Superman. And so Superman, yes, although they make him into a nice character and a good man and a good person, he's not as easy to relate to as someone like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a young kid who can't pay his rent. His uncle was killed right in front of his eyes, and it's his fault. He has these powers he's learning how to use. He has bullies in school. He, has homework to do. And by the way, he's got to fight crime and do all this at the same time. So people can relate to a character like Spider-Man a lot more because he is so vulnerable, I guess you would say. And a lot of us relate to vulnerable characters because we feel vulnerable all the time. How many times in your life, how many times in your day do you feel vulnerable? Like, I can't figure this out. I don't have this, I don't have any understanding. How do I do this? How can I get across this finish line when I don't have all the skills needed? We all can relate to that. So that's a great character trait to have in your character. So what do we have here? Let's go back and take it out. We have why this character, what makes a great character. So we talked a little bit about that. What makes a great character, why this character, and what can the audience relate to? Okay, so think about those things. And the next thing, create a character with strengths. I'm not talking super strength like Superman, talking about Superman again, or any superhero. Yes, we're talking about superheroes in that sense, with strength. You can think about it literally that way. But there's some characters that have a ton of strength. Look at Princess Leia. Now, you wouldn't look at Princess Leia in Star Wars and think, wow, she's physically really strong, but her attitude is super strong. She's got a very strong attitude. She's a very powerful presence. In the first Star Wars movie, I remember I saw the first Star Wars movie as a kid. This is a long time ago, obviously, but Princess Leia is a main character. And through the whole movie, you see Princess Leia, you get a glimpse of her at the beginning. Then you're watching Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then halfway through the movie, they finally get to Princess Leia. And you think that she's going to be just this kind of little meek little girl. And she's as tough as they are. In fact, even tougher. She's got all the answers. She's a real leader. She's got kind of a smart mouth. She doesn't take any junk from the guys. And her and Han Solo kind of get into it a little bit, and it's really funny because she does have a lot of strengths. So just because a character doesn't have a lot of physical strength doesn't mean they can't have a lot of mental strength. So you need to do that. Make sure your character that you're creating has a lot of mental strength. You know, uh, give them things that they're good at. What is your character good at? Is your character good at sports? Is your character good at math? Is your character good at, I don't know, even doing bad stuff? Are they kind of conniving? Are they kind of, someone who's really, yeah, sort of like trying to do things in an underhanded way, but are they good at it? Are they good at, finding things? I mean, what is it? Are they good at making friends? What is it that those people are, that your character's good at? And what is it about, that character that the audience is going to want to follow? You know what I mean? What about the character is is appealing, I guess you would say. Having a strength of character is very good when you're watching a movie or a TV show. You're going to want to follow that character all the time. Even like a show like a show like, let's say, Matlock, where Andy Griffith was an old man lawyer. You know, he was a real compelling character because he was very good at the law. It doesn't have to be someone who's like, again, physically strong or a superhero, but someone who's good at what they do. And even like Tony Stark, what I love about Tony Stark and Iron Man, he's extremely brilliant, but physically his heart is very weak. He's got to have this sort of thing in his chest to keep his heart going, because even though he's this massively powered superhero, he's got an issue with his heart. And he has to keep powering his heart with this machine so he'll stay alive, number one, and he can still be Iron Man at the same time. So you've got a character, a real hero. Stan Lee always said this, a real hero is the one who's always down for the count at the last minute. And then at the last minute, he comes back despite the odds. If you saw the movie Endgame with Captain America, you've got this great scene at the end where Captain America, I know I'm giving spoilers away here, but hey, maybe you've seen it already. But Captain America has just in a fight with Thanos, the most powerful character in the world, in the universe. And Captain America not only survived the fight, but he almost got killed. And his shield is broken. He's dirty. He's all by himself. And Thanos unleashes all of his men, like millions of soldiers. And Cap is standing there all alone, ready to face Thanos. And that's a real strength of character. Cap's going to go at it by himself, even though he didn't have any help. I got a question here. Someone asked me, who is my favorite character? Wow, that's an interesting question. I have so many favorite characters. I have one of my favorite characters is Marty McFly from Back to the Future. I love Marty McFly because he's a kind of a tough little take no prisoners kid who gets himself into a predicament where he endangers his own existence. He's got to figure a way out of it through um, traveling through time, and it's just one of those things where I love Marty McFly. He's a kid from the 80s who finds himself back in the 50s. He's a fish out of water. And how would you feel in that situation? What a great character. I also love Michael Scott from The Office, uh, who has a ton of strength. His strength is being energetic and constantly distracting people. Constantly making the audience cringe. But what a great character. He's also a character that's super appealing. Let's go back. He's a character the audience can relate to because he works in a crappy little business and he's trying his best to make ends meet. Why that character? Because he's a great foil for all the other characters in the room. They're trying to work in spite of him, you know, that type of stuff. It's really funny. So those are two characters I really, really like. So we talked about creating a character with strengths. Now I got another question here. Let me see. Someone says, how do I design my character? Wow, that's a big question. I don't know if you're an artist or not, but you start designing a character based on other characters you've already seen. Let's say your character is a duck. Well, you've seen a lot of other duck characters out there. Maybe you start by using some of their traits, but like, well, you don't want to copy exactly, of course, but you're like, well, I could use this trait, and that's funny. I like that, but maybe I can make a different design here, a different sort of a beak, a different sort of a head, different sort of feet, that type of thing. So maybe you start by looking at other people's characters and see what you like and maybe adapt some of those traits to your character. Let's keep going. Create a character with strengths, create a character with weaknesses. A character with weaknesses. Your main character needs to have weaknesses. Again, I go back to the Spider-Man example. He's a teenager. He needs to get a job. He has no rent. He has no rent money. He's constantly trying to get a girl. He's constantly failing. He is completely afraid. He's always, he's kind of a little nervous around girls. He's sort of like, not very lucky. He's doing his best to, um, get through school without being punched too much, that kind of thing. Uh, or what I love about Superman, going back to him again, Superman's a great character with weaknesses because he was so powerful in the comics, the writers realized they had to give him a weakness. So they gave him this thing called kryptonite, which actually can weaken Superman, and it makes for much more interesting stories. Got this massively powerful character with a weakness. And if someone finds that weakness, they can exploit it. And so that makes for a compelling story and a compelling narrative. And that's what you should do. So create a character with strengths, character with weaknesses. You know, if you make a super perfect character, it's never going to work. I can use an example. The movie Captain Marvel came out a couple of years ago. When I saw that movie, I was all excited to see it, but then I wasn't very engaged with Captain Marvel because the character of Captain Marvel really had no weaknesses. It was a kind of a perfect character, all powerful, no problems, did nothing wrong, and won at the end. And again, I was glad to see that, but for that character, like, okay, they're at least um, they're, staying true to the comic book, I guess. But I can't believe in the comic book there would have been no weaknesses for that character. I think creating some weaknesses in that character would have really, really helped, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, nobody else's. Got another question here. Let's see. How do you make a character not too overbearing? Wow. Well, you simply write it that way. If you're, but I may ask you this, is your character supposed to be overbearing? Are you talking about making the character too much of the story? Like, if your character is the main character, they're supposed to be in the majority of the story. The audience has to get into them. Like Luke Skywalker, he's the main character. You have to follow Luke's journey. Rocky Balboa, the main character. We got to follow him. Indiana Jones, the main character. We need to follow that character through the story. But Indiana Jones had tons of weaknesses. He was afraid of snakes. That's number one. He's a human being. Number two, he'd get hurt. He would run out of bullets or he would get punched too much or whatever. He was a character that was always up against the odds. And that's why a character like him is so appealing. But making him not overbearing, just don't make him make the character again, all the things I just listed, someone the audience can relate to, give them some strengths, give them some weaknesses, and just be careful. And and writing is a testing ground. You're going to write your character and then read it and see how the script reads. Is this character too much? Are they saying too much? If a character talks too much, that could be overbearing, so kind of keep that in mind as well. If they talk too little, that might be uncomfortable for the audience as well. So keep those things in mind. What else I got here? Create a character that you love. As the writer, as the creator, create a character that you love. Why? Because you might end up working on this character for 20 years, like I did with Timmy Turner, Cosmo and Wanda, Vicky, Chip Skylark. I ended up working, The Fairly Odd Parents ran from as a series from 2001 to 2018 for 17 years with brand new episodes. And so I had to love those characters because I had to work on them every single day for that long. And it was the joy of my life. I can't even describe to you what it's like to do something like that. And now the Fairly Odd Parents are still going on, which I'm so thrilled about. Because again, we gave them weaknesses, we gave them strengths. Cosmo's weakness is that he's a total bumbling moron. But his strength is that he's really funny. Oh, and he has magic. So um, doing fun things like that with characters is so much fun. Like SpongeBob, his strength is his happiness, but his weakness is that he's SpongeBob. He's not gonna do it perfectly every time. He's kind of a moron, and but he's a charming moron. Same with Cosmo. They're not morons that hurt people on purpose. They're morons that are trying their best, and they can't help but be morons. So, yeah, making a character not too overbearing, giving a character strengths, giving a character weaknesses, and creating a character that you love. You want to make sure your character is someone you love because you're going to want to work on them for a long, long time. So make sure that when you work on them, or when you create them, someone you love. You love to look at them. You love to look at that character. I love to hang out with that character. I love to be friends. I'd love to be friends with that character because that's what you want the audience to feel. You want the audience to feel like they could be friends with your character for a very, very long time, and they're going to make friends. So you want to make sure that you create an appealing character. That's the main thing. And yeah, so that's the end of that slideshow, but I still want to talk to you a little bit. So hope you got something out of that as far as talking about character creation, because that is really the key to storytelling. Danny Phantom is another one. Danny Phantom. My character, he's a teenage kid, a lot like Spider-Man. He's a teenage kid who gets superpowers as a teenager, and doesn't know how to use them. Oh, and by the way, his parents are ghost hunters and he's a ghost. And so that's a huge weakness. He's weak because he's a teenager, doesn't understand a lot about high school, trying to figure that out, trying to figure out his powers. He just became half ghost. And oh, by the way, his parents are ghost hunters and their alarms are going off all the time. So, giving him challenges, giving him obstacles to overcome. That was a real fun challenge for me to do with Danny Phantom and my writing staff. We had a great time writing that show. And I think the audience really got into that show. I hear all the time that the audience really loves Danny Phantom because of how relatable he is, how relatable he can be, and why he's so much fun to watch is because they feel like they can see themselves in Danny Phantom. A lot of teenagers are just like Danny Phantom. They're trying to figure things out, and so was he. But the main thing about character creation, too, is listen, guys, at the end of the day, these characters will live on for a long time. And that's what you want. That's what you're going for. Some of the examples I used, Superman, Spider-Man. I could go on to Batman and some other ones, other big superhero characters, other comic book characters like, Charlie Brown. Why has Charlie Brown been around forever? Scooby-Doo. Why has he been around forever? Why have these characters been around forever? Because people love to watch them and relate to them, just like you. There's characters that you love that you can't wait to watch. Maybe it's Game of Thrones. Maybe it's Cobra Kai. Maybe it's some other show that you fell in love with. You just can't wait to watch because the characters are so great. So keep all these things in mind as you go forward. And we'll do some more Q&A this month. I'm looking forward to it. I love coming on the Butch Hartman Art Academy community. I'm glad you're here. And make sure you share this video. Um, share this video with other people that might be interested in joining. I do think it's fun. You guys can share ideas. We can talk about more stuff like this. Also, let me know what other topics you want to talk about. If it's, straight up drawing, animation, if it's storyboarding, if it is character design, if it's background design, if it is timing animation, if it's storytelling, writing, scripts, acting, voice acting, whatever it is, if it's pitching a show, talking about pitching a show, if it's, you know, any aspect of the animation industry, I can talk about. I can talk about Hollywood. I can talk about, getting over your fear of, you know, uh, putting your show out there, putting your material out there, because sometimes it's a little bit intimidating. So, we don't want that to happen for you. I'm here to help. So let me know what else we could talk about. Follow me on Instagram at Butch Hartman, or follow me at the Butch Hartman Art Academy, also on Instagram. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your concerns. Let me know what you want to learn. I got a lot more fun stuff coming up, guys. I'm so glad you joined me. We'll have special guests coming up here soon. And until then, don't forget, like I said, art gives you power. Use it wisely. You guys have a great week. See you later.